thought find out, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book The Future's Effect, none other than Mr. Tom Meyers.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank,
Mr. Tom.
thank you from across the Atlantic in Belgium.
Across, yes. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure, I'm an osteopath, so a manual therapist who dabbles in futures thinking for personal development and also for the evolution of humanity to think about fitful futures. That means, how can we stay fitful in this fast changing and often challenging world? I've written a couple of books about that, and some more are in the pipeline.
Yes, looking forward for that, Mr. Tom, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. The title speaks of changing your story. For our listeners, could you share a pivotal moment from your own life where consciously changing your internal narrative led to a tangible change in your real world future?
Yeah, I'm an osteopath today, but I'm actually trained as a chef. And I was working for many years in hotels and restaurants as a waiter, a sommelier, also on cruise ships. And it was in the 1990s until I resettled back into Belgium. There opened a gourmet deli, but I found myself with a suicidal depression because it was not me. I was used to travel around the world. I was used to be free, and there I was in this prison of four walls with products that needed to be attended to, and suddenly I fell into this state of mind where I was reflecting also on my past. It wasn't always the easiest past. And I think from if this is the rest of my life, then I basically don't want it. Luckily, I talked about my problems to somebody who sent me to a coach, and she has helped me to reframe my story. And really, the first question she asked myself is what she asked me was, what are you doing here? And it's a very strange question to ask to and to think about. What am I doing here? Um, how did I get here, and what do I want instead? And I answered that in a way that I feel that one part of me is going into an anti-clockwise direction and the other in a clockwise direction, and there is this conflict. And then she said, "From okay, tell me your story." And this is like where I found out that I was having a lot of limiting beliefs, that I thought I was good for nothing while I had traveled around the world, that I had experiences with my dad who said, "I can't be proud of you. I go to work and my colleagues tell me a lot of things about their children. What can I tell about you? Nothing. You're good for nothing." And of course, you take that with you into your life and into your adult life as well. And of course, these are all metaphors that we carry and that influences our choices, decisions, and actions. And but they are wrong. It's not because you have expressed that you were not good enough in a certain period. It doesn't mean that you're good enough forever. And this is where changing your story is finding out what are the metaphors that you're living by, what are the things that are actually not true about you, that you believe, that you accepted, that you need to look at.
Mhm. Interesting, Mr. Tom. You introduced a central concept called the futures effect itself. Could you describe this effect in a simple terms? What is the immediate short-term reward that motivates someone to start this work?
The future's effect is that when we start thinking more about what we want and need the future to be, and then base that on our potential, on our purpose, if you want, or do it with meaning, then the present changes. Then we can, from a vicious circle in which we've been circling most of the time in a downward spiral, we can start to see a way out of that. So the future's effect is that the more that we are going to implement futures thinking ideas, foresight of things that we want and need, and we are allowing our present to be aligned with that, then we have a futures effect.
Mm. And one of the most striking elements of the book is your use of you instead of your. What a specific mindset shift you hope this simple spelling change creates in a reader?
Yeah, so for the listeners, so it's Y apostrophe hour. And so change your future is just Y OUR, your story. Change your future is your and our future, because we are not alone. The decisions and choices we make, the actions we take always has an effect on others. So we also have to take into account that what we do has an impact on other people. And this is what I wanted to make clear with this, just this apostrophe between Y and our, that we don't think enough about the effect we have on others, that what we do influences not only our close environment. I, as an osteopath, it influences my patients. When I help my patients, they go home, it influences, the family environment, maybe their work environment. And as we've seen with COVID, how, things that happen in one place suddenly can, go all around the world. um, that is where that stems from seeing that, from, hey, my God, here we have a big example of how far our choices, decisions, and actions can go very, very fast. And I think we all influence each other. It's like the butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect. You wrote about, or you write about creating a DNA for the future. What are the essential and changing elements that make us up this DNA, and how you provide stability in a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world?
Yeah, suddenly I was seeing that the process that I had gone through coaching, I started to write about that was very similar to a biological DNA, where you have a core that does not alter. So DNA does not alter, but can be expressed in different ways through the epigenome being influenced by behavior and environment. Now, this is the same for us. We live with this metaphor. The only constant is change, and I say, and what about the change? The in change there are constants. For example, your potential, you're born with it and you die with it. What you want to feel and your aspirations, if you really start writing those down, you will see that they've always been there and that they always will be there. That is what you want. So the DNA for your future, for your personal development, you could say, okay, think about what do you want to feel. Think about what do you aspire from life. What do you want life for? And I want to have a good, resilient, evolvable life. I want to uh, I want to grow as a person. I want to be in action. I want, yeah, like everybody, I want to have a good life. Well, do you think that I never wanted that before? And don't you think that when I'm 80 years that I don't want that? Don't you think that I want to feel content, fulfilled, and healthy when I'm 80? I still want to feel that. So these are like strands, or the subjective elements of a DNA. And the middle part, which is the bonds, is my potential. That's what I'm born with and can develop over time to be good at. And I always say that to feel content and fulfilled, well, isn't that by expressing my potential? And and I think now I've been doing this for 25 years, I can say yes, it is. So this DNA for the future is find that what does not alter, on which you can build a future. Find that does not what alter our building blocks of stability through change. If you know what the building blocks are, and it's written extensively into my book, The Futures Effect, how to find these building blocks, then the future is also less uncertain. Because if A happens, you can fall back onto your DNA and express that in a different way. So, I'm going to give a personal example. Today, I'm an osteopath. That means it's the expression of the therapist that I'm born with as potential. I teach, right? So teach is potential, and I'm teaching the reset approach globally. That gives me also an opportunity to travel, and my potential is a traveler. So I'm a therapist, communicator, teacher, researcher, and traveler. That's my potential that I found. And I've created a life around it. Today, as a therapist, is the osteopath, but who knows when I'm retired or I live in a retirement home, I might be listening to the nurses complain, and that's still a therapist.
The book bridges well being, futurism, and body centered osteopathy, a unique combination. How does your work with patients' physical stress inform your understanding of our collective future stress?
Well, stress today is a big problem, and is becoming a bigger problem because of an aspect, what is called an evolutionary mismatch. Biology is not evolving at the same speed as our culture. Because of our technological advances, that culture that we're living is changing with the speed of light, but we biologically have not adapted. And we are reacting for something like, "Ooh, I don't have any internet," like in the days that we were running after food or running away not to be food from for a predator. So the same reaction is being stimulated. That's with the same reaction from our body, we are responding to a zillion things that are not really going to interfere with our survival. And so that is why stress has become chronic, and chronic stress makes uh, muscles tense up, heart rate goes up, digestion go down, it increases your immune and inflammatory in the body. And so this is how, when we look from an evolutionary perspective, how stress today is a huge problem, but it's an individual problem. But underlying that, we have a social, humanitarian problem that we need to solve. And as a futurist, I'm also trying to think about, okay, how are we going to solve that? So I call it Fitful Futures Exploring, and from how to stay fitful while technology is in, the exponential change of technology is going to continue, and we can't become at the same level of technology. We need to be able to adapt and manage it better. And what is the potential that we can develop to do that? That's the bridge between osteopathy and my futures thinking.
Interesting, Mr. Tom. If someone has read the book and done the work to define their preferred future, what is the critical next step to move from competing or compelling narrative in their mind to ongoing reality in their daily actions?
It's to have it always in your mind and to align your choices, your decisions, and your actions to it. And then you will see the opportunities and the changes you need to make. It's come your way. It's a bit like uh, energy flows where attention goes. But first, you need to know to have a focal point of that attention. And the next step is very individual, but it's about seeing the signs that are in front of you. But now you can, because you know where you're going.
Hmm. You know where you're going. Exactly what your book will embrace us. So, this is book two in the Future as Yourself series, isn't it?
Yes.
How this volume build on the first, and what new territory does it specifically cover some of this journey?
So the first book is more biography. So it's more my backstory from how I came to become an osteopath and researcher and traveler, and then to use that kind of story to start thinking about your own potential. The second book is a follow up and goes more deeper into how to create the DNA for your future, with the aspects also then of your what do you want to feel, your aspirations, and your potential as a whole. I must admit that the first book I have rewritten, and it will come out probably sometime during June this year. So I have reworked it entirely to have a new version of it now that we are 8 years later since the first publication.
Mr. Tom, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My long term goals is that the what I call also from my work as the reset approach, which is helping manual therapists to deal with patients with stress related ailments. So, more including the software treatments into hardware tools to make that a global movement. That is definitely my long term goal. And my other long term goal with short term steps is to help people and communities to think about what would an ideal day be like in 100 years time. Because if we don't have a vision of where humanity heads towards, how can technology help us? How can we have more adaptability and managing change if we have no project human? And this is, I think, one of the biggest issues today. We don't know where we're going, and it creates a lot of stress. And as soon as we can establish some of the ideas from this is what we want, instead of being pushed forward into direction unknown, we will be able to flourish and thrive better in this fast changing world. Short term is, talking about this, being on podcasts, writing articles, and continue really inspiring others with one-to-one conversations to really think about this.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Tom, and looking forward for more success. And what will be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Don't be like me, be yourself. Don't copy paste what I'm doing, because that there is only one me. So that's one advice. But I would say be good to your future by imagine a future with, from, and on purpose today. Uh, the past is gone, the future is still to be created, but every choice, decision, action you make today creates that future. So, on what do you base those choices, decisions, and actions? It's something worth thinking about today for a better future.
For the better future, for sure. So, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey, Mr. Tom?
There are two books that I like to recommend that are Future Consciousness by Thomas Lombardo and also Your Future Self by Hall Hirschfield, which are two books that inspired me enormously and also gave me a lot of insight into the process that I was already describing, but then from a scientific point of view, and also from from how to bring that even more to the foreground, how important it is that we have future consciousness and how important it is that we have to design our future self to become it.
So before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Tom, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 in third season, and food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fifth season, science 101, sex 101 fourth season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible Verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Tom, to close in forward momentum, the best time to start futurizing yourself is right now.
Today,
So, what is
right
the
now.
simple, concrete action you would invite every listener to take within the next 24 hours to start changing their story?
First of all, is to think about, what are you unhappy with today and how would you like to see that differently? And then you start, the second step is from how did you get to this point? The third step is to finding the potential in you for to changing those metaphors maybe that you've been carrying around, and then to move forward with confidence to the future that you've designed to be.
Yes, definitely. So, Mr. Tom, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
They all can find it on futurizeyourself.com. That's the easiest way. You can contact me or with LinkedIn.
Mm. Yes, people, I support Mr. Tom Meyers because if you support him for sure, more and more futurizing books will rise. I have one more question, Mr. Tom. Can you share a story of a client or reader who applied these principles and experienced the transformative features effect in their career, health, and or relationships?
Well, there's one particular patient of mine that I have in mind, and she started reading the book, and then she read it. Now she read it 3 times, and every time she finds some meaningful information into it, and it's very subtle. But then she was self-employed and didn't want to be self-employed anymore, and then she found the job that she wanted, and found that also that it calmed her to just be more aware of where she was going and heading and making the small steps needed to get there. And it's like it gave a lot of rest to her. And I'm seeing her every month, and I'm giving also the treatments just to support her in that journey, because it's very important. It's not because we have an idea and we start into a change in our personal development that our body doesn't need some treatment to accompany that. And with this combination, it's every single time it's like a rebirth for her, so that she feels calm and easy making the steps that she needs to make.
Well, very well said, Mr. Tom. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel Lucas.
Marticon people, see you soon.